Hi everybody, it's Ben here from Art Less Ordinary. So I am going to do a swipe with, where did I put the paint? With Extreme Sheen 24K Gold and Holcroft Professional Titanium White over a base of a phthalo blue with a bit of black. So this is 35 grams phthalo blue and 5 grams black mixed with 160 grams of Australian floetrol. So it's a really dark blue. It's probably a little bit darker than I had planned, but that's what happens when you add black to stuff. And these two are 4 grams paint and 12 grams Australian floetrol. So not much colours in it today, but I kind of wanted it a little bit simple and I wanted it to be nice and metallic. So I think I have too much base paint here, so I won't put it all on. And I'm going to keep this on camera today, so you can see how I do it. This is a 12 by 16 canvas. And as you can see, I just spread it around with the knife. And if it starts going over the edge, then I just touch it up. So I want it to cover all surfaces. I will still tilt it over the edge, but I just want to show you what I actually do. It's relatively quick on this size. I thought I'd show you how I do it on this size canvas, because a larger canvas takes a lot longer to cover. So I probably have enough paint already on the canvas to do this. So I'll put a lid on the rest of the blue, dark blue, and use it in another art piece. So the reason I cover all sides, including like the whole canvas, including the sides, is just so I know everything is covered. And then when I do my tilting, because you want to tilt it, you want the paint to be even. You don't want it to be like, you don't want to have empty spots, and you don't want it to be too thick in one spot and thin in the other. So if my head is in the way. So being phthalo blue, this is going to be slightly opaque. So I'm hoping that it doesn't look, I'm hoping that it looks good covering the whole canvas. So as I go, I clean my tools. I don't want paint sitting on them. It is so much harder to get it off once it is dried. And I will put gloves on to do the tilting. Otherwise I'll have blue hands for a couple of days, and I don't want, I've already got a blue thumb now, but if I did this, I'd have blue paint everywhere, underneath my rings, in my fingernails. So now I just move it around a little bit, and you can see the paint kind of flowing. So this is where you will lose a lot of the paint that's on here, but you want it to cover the whole canvas and be quite even. So can you see it running down? So this is why you're always best to keep a little bit of extra blue paint or base paint in your cup, just in case you end up not having enough, because you do need it to cover all areas. I'm going to be off camera a little bit for this, but you get the gist of what I'm doing. So there's a thick bit. I think I've got it out. You can see if there's any lumps of dry paint or anything when you do that. I usually don't use my thumb to get the paint off. I'll use a scraper, but I'm trying to do this quickly so I'm not boring you guys too much with doing a base layer. Fast forward if you like. So this is an artwork I saw Julie Katz do using a deep blue and using the extreme sheen gold, 24K gold, and a white paint. I think her video is called Northern Lights. I love Julie's work. I love lots of artists, but I really like Julie's work. She was the one I used to watch before I even started doing any acrylic pouring. And I was just learning and enjoying watching how things get done, and then decided I have to do this type of art. It just looks magical to me, seeing acrylic pouring getting done, and I knew I would enjoy it. Who would not? I think once you start doing acrylic pouring, you fall in love with it. So sorry, I'm still off camera. I just got to get... It's not getting to this corner, so that's why I always save that little bit extra. There we go. You just want it to be nice and even. Okay. There's another little bit there. Yep, I got that. So now I just want to tilt it so I can cover that part. Tiniest little drop. You don't want much because you're going to have to even that out. Alright, that should be good. Okay. If you see a little bit, so normally when you do an opaque base, you don't end up seeing the canvas underneath, but sometimes when you use a transparent base, you see a little bit of the canvas underneath, and you don't really want that. Oh, must have been a hole in my glove because I got paint all over me. Alrighty, now I'm going to do this slightly different to how I normally do. Probably similar, but no, do you know what? I'm going to do this the same way I normally do. So the 24K gold will, what I call, bleed a little bit. So, and what I mean by that is, when it hits, it doesn't stay so smooth and defined. It kind of spreads a little bit. So, off the canvas, do a zigzag, and I may do a second line going the opposite way. Now the white. So the white is what's going to give you cool lacing. So that's why I like to add the white as well. Which I'm just going to squiggle around. Alrighty. Not exactly as even as I would have preferred. Maybe, no, I'm not going to. So I've got my cards cut in half and my cards cut in 2/3. I'm going to do a couple of different sizes. So, like normal, we want to grab half and pull it down. Okay, I'm getting a lot of white and not so much of the gold. So, pardon me. See how I skip there? I don't like that, so I'm going to overlap this one a little bit. So I don't think we're going to see the full potential in this until it has dried and you get the metallic come through. Okay, so this is, see how what I mean by bleeding, see how it's kind of mixing in the white and kind of pushing it around a little bit. The extreme sheens can be a slight bully. Sometimes that works as an advantage and sometimes a disadvantage. So looks like even with putting my gloves on, I've got quite blue hands. So I can see how gold the paper towel is, so I know that this is going to be really beautiful gold once it has finished. So one thing I would have to say is I don't think I'm in the middle of the canvas. I think I'm a little bit off-centered. Probably my fault. I think I'm doing this a bit quicker than I should have. I probably should slow down a little bit. Okay, new paper towel. I wasn't sure what colours to put in. I wanted to put in another extreme sheen with it, but I didn't know what colour to do, so I was a little bit confused. Okay, now I'm not going to do the sides like I normally do, only because the gold is kind of bleeding into the side, so it doesn't look like 4 straight lines. It does look a little bit more different. So I actually wanted a little bit more blue in between the middle, so the blue kind of background kind of came through into it a little bit more. It's kind of a little bit, the gold bled a little bit and kind of made the middle a little bit more solid than I would have preferred, when I probably could have just done a little line of the blue afterwards. That probably would have looked quite good. But see how the cells are really kind of going quite different? This is what the Extreme Sheen does. Instead of giving you the same lacing I get when I do my other ones, I get this kind of more, I find it's more cells than lacing, in my opinion. And it seems to come up randomly in different spots. So even there I've got a cell forming, but this gold is going to really, really shimmer once it has dried. You can see it in the right light on the right angle if you duck down and have a look. But when it's dried, it's going to be magnificent. So I possibly may not even show you this video until my artwork is dry and I can get a proper photo of it. But in saying that, a couple of times I've done my swipes and taken beautiful photos, and the next day little flies come along and done a little wiggly squiggle through it, and not ruined it, but it's, I know it's there. I can tell. Probably not everyone would notice it and go, oh, what's that? But I pick it up because I know what it looked like before when I finished, before it was dry. But this is looking quite cool, but it is definitely off center. It's probably, see how that there's only this big, and then that side there's probably, it's not quite 2/3, but it's probably 2/3 closer this way than it is. So that there's 2/3, and that is probably one, oh, not quite, but close to. So this doesn't matter, but keep that line relatively in the same spot. I was going to do a slight angled one, but I didn't. Sometimes your brain thinks of it before you start, and once you start you go, I wasn't planning to do that. But this is going to look really cool once it has dried. But see how you get some of the blue that is coming through. So that's going to look awesome. But I really can't wait to see this shimmer and sparkle. Will look really cool. So I'm going to try this with other colors as well in the future. I just wanted to do, when I say a small one, it's 12 by 16 inch. So it's not tiny, but it's not massive either. I just wanted to make sure that the blue background was going to actually suit the colors. But at the same time, I didn't want to do a miniature canvas, because this here I can still use and enjoy and make a big brother of it. So that is virtually it for now. I can't do too much more, but let it, maybe I'll torch it slightly, see if that brings up any more lacing or cells. I don't want to overdo it. And torching it can also make the Extreme Sheen bleed a bit more than it normally does. So keep that in mind too if you don't want it to anymore. But see how these cells are developing more and moving? That's decoart Extreme Sheen that does that. So keep that in mind. If you don't want that to happen, maybe use a different brand, but I quite like this effect at times. I don't want it on everything, but I like it on some. So let's pause it and bring you down for a close-up. And there we go. So it's hard to see, but that is definitely a blue. Yeah, you can see the blues coming through and the white a bit there. But this is what I mean by the cells from the deco art. It kind of makes them more cell-like than lacing. And can we get this shimmer? Not quite. The camera doesn't... slightly there. See how it is really shimmery. But this will look so much better once it is dry. So this is what I have for now. Well, I do hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait to show you the dry artwork. Hopefully nothing flies in it. So like normal, comment, like, share and subscribe if you haven't already. So have a good night everybody, and I will see you tomorrow for another pour. Alright, catch you later. Bye.